Hello, everyone. This is weird. I'm Val with Multiplane Podcast and Movies That Make Us.
I'm Jake, just with Movies That Make Us.
I'm Tracy with Movies That Make Us.
I guess I'm going to go in front of Ty. I'm Robert, Instagram Action Figure Theater, not with either of the podcasts.
Oh,
Ty, you went out of turn. Ty, you went out of turn. You're fired.
What are you doing, Ty? Is this your first podcast ever? What is happening right now?
It's hard to hear with this thing on. I'm hot.
Don't wear it.
I had to at least open with this. Okay, come on.
Well, you ruined the whole show.
I'm Val.
You have already worn it longer than Star-Lord even wears it in the movie. So,
so Ty, go ahead and introduce yourself, and then we'll introduce our special guest.
I'm Ty. Hi, guys. Yeah, dressed as Star-Lord today.
He's also with Movies That Make, or with Multiplane Podcast. My goodness. And then our special guest, Robert, like you have been on both of our shows, I believe. We have done a few things together throughout the years, and we're all a huge fan of you and your different Instagrams.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
And this is a little weird because, Jake, you usually do all of the running of the show, but I pushed all the buttons to get in here. So does that mean that I have to keep the show flowing today too?
Yeah, I don't know.
We're in a totally different multiverse.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I feel like we've slipped into this new multiverse where I'm not the one pushing all the buttons, so I don't really know. Like, even our nameplates are a different color. I don't even know how that happened. Like,
so
I don't know what's happening.
So what I thought we would do is, because the Multiverse of Madness is kind of this red, and then also we use red on Multiplane Podcast. We've got I'm trying to flow both shows together, get equal representation, but also represent the movie a little bit. There's our little nameplate with everything. I'm trying to do some branding and some extra. I'm wearing red, just kind of representing the red from the movie. I also did my hair a little more red today.
So did I. Oh,
you did?
Yeah, honestly, my bad.
But for those of you that are tuning in, whether you're listening or you just joined us live, we have put this multi-podcast together because we are going to be talking about Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness.
Yes, that is correct. That is what we're talking about.
Jake's just upset he's not the guy in the chair today.
He's always the guy in the chair. Always.
I'm still a guy in a chair. So, yes. So, Multiverse of Madness. What did you guys think? We'll start. I mean, I don't know. We'll start with a generic. What do you think? I do want to say though, if you're just stumbling upon this, there will be spoilers, and if you haven't seen the movie, you don't want to stay. Go see the movie, then come back. This will be up on YouTube on both of our YouTube channels. And you can catch it after that. If you don't care about spoilers, then by all means stay. We would love to have you. Just don't be like the people next to me when I went and saw it, and you're asking questions throughout the whole thing because you don't know what's going on.
I was going to say, if you haven't seen the movie, we might help you. We might help you out with a little bit of direction.
Yeah.
You know, if you maybe don't know as much about how to get through the multiverse.
Well, yeah. I'm not sure, though, even after this movie, that you know how to get through the multiverse, because we only went to a couple places.
No, we went more places than that. We just didn't stay in a lot of the places.
We did a good montage.
That's true. They stumbled through a bunch, like the Paint universe, which was cool.
Yeah.
But they only really went to one and stayed there. I don't know.
Well, it was nice.
I'm not trying to complain, though. I feel like I'm starting off complaining.
So I want to start off with how do we feel, those of you that watched WandaVision, and this was kind of like you watch WandaVision, you get all excited, you wait a year for this movie to come out, and now this is like the prize for watching WandaVision, What If, all these different things. But do you feel like for that show specifically and this movie that it was a good payoff. Because for me, and Ty and I differ in this, I thought WandaVision was fine. I didn't hate it. I didn't love it. I liked where it was leading me. I liked it more every week when Ty explained things to me that I didn't understand. And then I was like, oh, that episode is so much better because now I know what actually was happening. But I do think, in my opinion, that having that setup and then watching the movie, it was a very good flow through those stories. I felt like it connected well. Anybody else?
I'll just say something real quick. Why I really enjoyed WandaVision were for all the fun little Easter eggs and snippets. And from this movie, I'm going to just display this shirt. This is why I love the movie. It gave us the big back for this. So
I hope that's the last layer you're taking off for this show.
Too hot, guys.
He's got a Fantastic Four tattoo on his chest.
Podcast
That's what's coming
after
next.
dark.
WandaVision to this was not a very far departure at all, and actually, like you said, flowed very nicely. They did a number of very unexpected for me things with the character, which I'm sure we'll get into later. And yes, Ty, it was great to see the professor and some other people.
We're not there yet.
Hey, I just said why I liked it, okay? There was little snippets that led to me screaming in the theater.
Part. I think this works for a general overview.
Okay, so does anybody? Oh, go ahead, Robert.
Oh, I was just going to say, but I've talked to some people who've seen it, and they were like, I didn't think this followed at all. I'm like, did you stay for the very last scene in WandaVision? Because that led directly to where we are now.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of people thought that they kind of did untoward things with Wanda, having seen the 8 episodes, but not staying for that last little bit.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I think the thing that's kind of tying phase 4 together is like Marvel is kind of like making us all go into therapy. Like this is all about trauma and loss and heartache and death. And, there's a lot going on in this. And I'm with Robert. I did not feel like this was a disservice to what they did in WandaVision. I felt it led directly into it. I mean, they require you to fill in some of the blanks. I mean, some time has passed and she's obviously been with the Darkhold and the Darkhold has done terrible things to her, but it's all right there. So I didn't feel like her becoming more of a villain was a major departure.
Can we just for a second, when you mentioned that phase 4 is kind of putting us all through this like therapy, are we at a weird spot where Bucky Barnes is the most mentally healthy of all of the heroes so far in phase 4? He's the one seeking help. He's the one trying to deal with his mental issues.
Between Sam and Bucky.
So
Sam's head is on pretty straight, I would say.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
There are other people, not so much.
Yeah. Okay. Sam and Bucky are doing all right.
Yeah, but
Bucky's
still, when those two are the ones that we want to
Those are-
strive for.
when Bucky is your picture of mental stability, you know that things have gone awry.
When you're sitting,
I'm just saying, he's seen some stuff and he's made it through. I'm just saying.
when you're sitting around the multiverse circle of therapy and friendship, and everyone says, everybody give a round of applause for Bucky. Maybe you all need to look at what Bucky is doing and his journey and add more of that into your life. And we've got Wolverine over there crying. We've got, I just picture this. Can somebody please animate this therapy circle of the multiverse? Because I want to see it.
Yes, I will do that.
Thank you, Jake, for starting this craziness.
I do love what they've done with Wanda's character in this. I do think it is a natural continuation, like we've said, of what we saw in WandaVision, and a lot of what we've seen in the comics from her, because she's always kind of been this side or that side. She's never always, she hasn't been always the hero, right? And this time she's definitely not the hero in this movie.
That's what threw me for the biggest loop, because as I was watching all of the trailers for the movie, is I really thought that Doctor Strange was going to be the big villain. And in a lot of the universes, the multiverse, he is. But in the bigger picture of us watching and looking in, he's not. Like, he's not the villain. And so I really thought he was going to be the big villain that we had to figure out. And then in the first 10 minutes of the movie, I was like, oh, dang, she's it, man. She's it. And then I just leaned in.
Are you asking
when Val leans in, you know
Doctor Strange?
What?
So if the other Doctor Stranges were all villains and we got the not villain, are you asking why do we get the broken Doctor Strange?
No, I do think,
like what's wrong with our Doctor Strange?
No, what's wrong with our Doctor Strange? Why can't he be the villain? No.
I didn't say that we didn't have the villain. He wasn't the villain to us.
Yeah, we got the busted one.
I don't think so. I think that every Doctor Strange, just like is said in the movie, every Doctor Strange causes problems.
Yeah.
And it just depends on how far he's caused some issues. He's helped cause issues. And so, no, I think that Doctor Strange is very much like Iron Man in that when he tries to help, because he's the one deciding what's the kind of help we all need to have, that's when things go wrong. But that's also why I love both of their characters. So.
Well, and I love this completely out of left field, but there's a quote that I love from the movie Rabbit Proof Fence. And Kenneth Branagh's character says, when will they ever accept what we're trying to do for them? And to me, that is like one of the scariest lines of dialogue, because that's where a lot of really bad issues start to happen, is when you say, I'm going to do this for you, for your own good, whether you like it or not.
Yeah. And that's what a lot of our superheroes has done. I mean, Iron Man did it, but also Ultron was the same way. And then we have Doctor Strange, who that's basically what they're pointing out the whole movie, is that you have to be the one with the knife. You have to be the one in control. You know, you have to do that. But if you look at most of our superheroes, especially in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, most of the time they're the ones making the decision. So whose decision is the right one? There is a very gray area between good and evil in here, which is that constant battle that we're in.
I just say whatever Steve Rogers says, that's usually the right choice.
See, I was going to say these Covian Accords apparently know what's right for everybody. So I guess he's going to duke this one out, Jake.
Yeah. So, I do think it was a great exploration of the Stephen Strange character in a really creative way, because you get the egotism, I think, in the first Doctor Strange movie, but this really delves into what drives that. And really, I think because as you see the different Doctor Stranges in the different multiverses and the decisions that they made and why they made those decisions, you really get to see why he always has to be the guy with the knife and why he always has to be in control. He honestly thinks he's better than everybody. Like all the time. And only Benedict and only Wong knows that he's not.
Sometimes he does know best, but it's that roll of the dice of when. And speaking of Wong, this leads me into, I'm gonna throw this out there. We're only 14 minutes in, but one of the things that really bothered me about the movie, here's my 1 out of 2 issues with this movie. There was a perfect moment for this franchise to bring in Shang-Chi. It would have made total sense. The entrance would have made sense. The timing would have made sense. You had Wong in his movie pulling him through, and now he's supposed to be there, and we have this big fight scene, and he could have stepped through and fought. He didn't need to help win. Something could have gone wrong, whatever. But you introduced me to Shang-Chi. You wanted me to like Shang-Chi. You want me to go to the box office and watch Shang-Chi. You get me excited. So now I'm excited. And then you have a perfect opportunity to have him in one of the biggest franchise movies of the year to help make him better and bigger and more well-known and well-loved. And then you totally effing shaft him. And I'm angry about it. So
to that point, somebody else I was reading something somewhere recently where somebody said that for 20 X movies, Marvel has gone and done kind of a domino effect where this movie leads into the next movie, leads to the next movie. And we've kind of gotten used to that. Like, every movie is going to have something that tells us something, a little clue about the next movie coming up. And it seems like so far in phase 4, nothing is connected. So
Right.
they're kind of going, I'm not sure if they're using the multiverse as their linchpin for doing this, but everything is eventually going to come together, I'm sure, because there's got to be some payoff at some point. But at this point, we have the Eternals over here, we have Shang-Chi over here, we have the Disney series, which don't tie into each other. You may get a passing reference in one or the other to another series, but there's no real connective fiber between any of the movies or the TV shows in Phase 4 to this point, with the possible exception of Hawkeye with Yelena Belova.
Mm-hmm.
But outside of that, everything else has stayed pretty separated and individualized in its own little compartment. And maybe that's one of the things they're saying, that it is connected. Right now, the threads are much more tenuous than they have been before. So you're tied to Shang-Chi. Yes, they had Wong in there, who would have been the perfect way to introduce him into this movie. But I'm not sure that when we're going with a supernatural horror movie, he would have been the right fit. So I can understand them going, maybe not this time.
See, and I think I personally agree with some of what you said, but I also think that some of that I don't agree with, because I think that Shang-Chi was more intense, violent, and supernatural than all of the other movies leading up, even somewhat of the Eternals. The Eternals had some, I didn't think the Eternals went as far as they could have in what they had available to them, right? But we're not going to talk about Eternals today. But when I don't mind you giving me some fan service, which this Doctor Strange movie has a crap ton of, and we'll get to that in a minute. But when you give me a movie like Shang-Chi, which I think was one of like the best superhero movies made, in my opinion, it has fantastic fight scenes, has amazing music, it has great flow, things that move together, and it introduces us to characters that we didn't know, and it has us care about them almost immediately. But then you throw in Wong, okay? Wong we already care about, we love, and you're giving it to us. Why? Because you think this movie can't carry itself on its own? Or so are you throwing it in for no reason, which I don't like when they do that to us. And in the past, Marvel has set up the fact that they have a reason for everything. So don't start giving me little pieces now. And I guess it wouldn't have mattered if there wasn't a perfect spot in Doctor Strange where it totally made sense, because they've brought other characters into other movies where it didn't make sense, but we didn't care because we loved the character, right? So I just thought it doesn't make me hate the movie, but it makes me call BS on them giving me Wong and Shang-Chi.
Yeah, I can see I can see where you're coming from on that, Val. I feel like there's not a lot of confidence in Shang-Chi, to be honest. I mean, let's be honest, in this movie, the Inhumans got more love than Shang-Chi, and that's not a good thing. Like, that's not a good sign for your franchise. But like, even looking at the What If series, we got nothing with Shang-Chi in What If. We got nothing. So it's kind of like that movie came out, that and the Eternals both. They kind of just came out, and then we haven't really done anything with them. And I feel like this movie did more to tie stuff together than previous movies in the Phase 4, because it tied together WandaVision. It did tie in some of the What If stuff. So it's done more to tie stuff together than the other movies.
It tied in 2004. They tied in movies from 2004. like that's what I'm saying. Like, it tied in, Jake, like you said, all these movies. So then don't give me Wong and Shang-Chi if you're not going to tie it. Like, I want to understand, and maybe I will later, and then I can have you all back on, and I can say, I'm sorry, Marvel. I love you. I eat my words. But right now, I think BS, Marvel. I love Shang-Chi. You want me to love him. Give him a little love back.
I do think it would have been problematic to have him there because of the powers that he has. How do you have, like, she killed everybody except for Wong and Doctor Strange. So you'd have to. I don't know. I think story wise, that may have been the other issue that they would have run into. Like, how do we bring him in and not make him look like a loser, but not kill him off, but not have him beat Wanda? I don't know. Maybe there were too many problems.
Here's the thing with Neil regarding to, Marvel not playing this domino effect. Is this something that the TVA has something to do with? Right now, are we seeing them trying to tighten down on the time strains with the new Kang that's coming in? Are we seeing them trying to not blend it, but then that's what comes in that drops in the Secret Wars plot that we're going to get down the road? I also think, I'm the poster boy for selling the pitch for the Midnight Suns. I think the reason that you didn't have a lot of references to other characters is because this was Marvel's attempt to kind of throw out there saying, hey, this is the style, the feel, the graphic side of things that you are going to get with some of these next movies. Like, as soon as we came out of the theater, and this isn't the spoiler part, but me and Trace were both saying they were really pushing the limits to some of the things on this film. And so with Jake, I don't know if bringing him in to that scene or to this story plot was going to mix on the same note. Yeah, she kills everybody, so that would have been problematic. I think this was them kind of just trying to make something different, pushing the edge, saying, okay, this is a branch of our new stuff we're going to be bringing to you.
But I do agree, Shang-Chi needs more love. I'm just saying.
I love you, Shang-Chi.
Oh, yeah, no. I love Shang-Chi, so...
Even if his rings are wrong, it's fine.
This does continue a tradition of other Avengers not showing up when major things are happening.
Yeah, but this is what has been 20 years ago. If I went and saw a superhero movie, like if I went and saw X-Men, right, I never expected Spider-Man to be in that movie.
Oh no,
I never expected anyone else from the Marvel Universe to show up. Even seeing Batman or Superman, you never expected them to show up in each other's movies. But now Marvel has spoiled us with this idea of this connected universe. And so then that's our expectation that like, oh, we'll see who else is going to be in this movie. And then it feels weird when we have this major event happen and none of the other superheroes show up. I mean, that's weird. It's kind of like, but when you look at Man of Steel, that was really weird that the whole city Metropolis is destroyed, but like nobody really shows up to help Superman out. He's kind of just there to clean up his own mess.
What are you talking about? Bruce Wayne was driving his Jeep through the city. What are you talking about?
So I think we've been spoiled, but it does start to feel weird now because we're used to that idea of, who's going to show up and why don't these superheroes show up? But yeah, another major event happens. Eternals, I think, was a great example of that. This huge giant thing comes out of the water and like nobody's talking about it.
They're like, that's a Thursday.
Yeah.
I mean, we've got giant gods fighting in Egypt. We got the moon changing, universes shifting. You got all sorts of weird stuff going on and people just don't seem to care.
It makes you think that as a Sorcerer Supreme, like Wong or Doctor Strange, they're not very good at their job. Like the whole night sky shifting and everything changing, like that should throw up some red flags.
Or are they? And the fact that they've cast a spell that just makes everybody go, Thursday. Maybe they're better at their job than you think.
He's just sitting there by the fire drinking his cocoa in the vast blah 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 of the universe. This is the blah 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 Thursday, drink my cocoa. But I'm gonna do my other gripe and then I'm gonna leave you guys up to telling about all the things you love about this movie. My other gripe is America. I feel like
it's the country or the character in this case.
I mean, let's jump into just the character for this episode.
Yeah,
we'll jump into the country later.
A little bit deeper.
Yeah. I want to go to bed at some point tonight. But just the character. One, I thought she was very well cast. I do think that this actress held her own when she was given the chance to next to Benedict Cumberbatch. But I felt like a little bit of this was a check the box, check the box, check the box. And I didn't get enough of her or deep enough cut of her to care about her, and I wanted to care about her more. The one thing that I did not like about, there was two things I didn't like about Beauty and the Beast, the live action film. One, it was frame by frame done. Why do you make the stupid movie? Two is there was a lot of things about that movie that they added in that I felt like it was a check the box. We need to have people of color, check the box. They're no relevance. They don't do anything special. They don't have a storyline, but they're there. We have LGBTQ, check the box. We have I felt like America to me was a check the box moment. Every time I thought they were going to give her something real to do, we were going to dive deeper into her storyline and make it relevant that she's there. I didn't get enough. It wasn't enough heart for me. And so I thought that point of the movie was a little drop for me. I know there was so many other things going on with Wanda, with the Strange, with all of that. If you can't give me enough of this character that you want me to care about, don't give her to me at all. Because I felt like I wanted to know more about her, that she's got a great backstory. And I know we're probably going to have another movie and she's going to be in it. And this was just an introduction. Fine. But give me a teeny bit more of caring about, because I felt she was, when she had her moments, she was strong on screen. She was just delightful, like this side character next to him that I know is going to be coming out from not being a side character. But I felt like, to me, they just checked some boxes and moved on a little bit. Maybe I'm the only one, but
we often say, Val, that like 99% of movies are too long. This one I wish was a little bit longer for one of that's part of the reason. I did feel like we kind of got shafted with this character for sure.
I thought that she had a reasonable amount of screen time for not being the focus of the movie, for the main focus for many parts of the movie. As far as checking the box, they needed somebody with her power set, and really she's the only one that I can think of that fits the MCU profile to bring in and to be a late phase 4, early phase 5 tie to what they've done so far to introduce the Young Avengers, because we've met, I believe, 6 of the members already. And like Ty was saying, we're going to see her again. We're going to see her in Young Avengers, especially after Kevin Feige almost killed Haley Steinfeld on stage for spilling the beans on that. So we know that we will see her again. I think that you're right. She did great holding her own against people who've been doing this for decades in some cases. And I would have liked to have seen more, but I think that what we got was the taste that we needed, especially for people who know nothing about her. And for those of us who do know more about her, I'm like, no, that all really does fit for Multiverse, for somebody who's not sure of themselves, and the way they introduced her was actually pretty perfect for the character, for the MCU. And we know that the MCU has done adaptations of comic characters or their stories over the past 10, 12 years. But what we got wasn't bad. And yes, it would have been great to see more of her story, how she, how is she dealing with the fact that I'm just jumping from universe to universe, and I'm basically Sam Beckett in Quantum Leap, and I stopped here for a minute. I don't know how long I'm going to be here until she, figures out her powers. But for now, I'm willing to trust what they were doing, just to give them, enough America, and I'm sorry, not enough Shang-Chi to move the overall multiverse from Marvel Cinematic Universe forward.
Yeah.
Do we have to start calling it the Marvel Cinematic Multiverse now, by the way?
MCM?
Yeah.
MCMU.
I'm about to say also going to be one of the most notorious Nexus beings in this entire saga.
I hope not. I really
you guys don't know.
Say that again.
What was that, Neil?
I said I don't want it to be her. I want it to be Man-Thing, because that then will go back into all of the horror, all the Midnight Sun stuff. So I'd like her to be a Nexus character, but not the Nexus character.
I literally just, before we jumped on the show, put down a copy of The Thing and Man-Thing in Marvel Group Duos. I wish I had it next to me to show you, but I'm like, oh, when are we going to bring in Man-Thing? but from a standpoint, I feel like she's going to be one of our main Nexus beings that's going to play into this storyline. I'm with you, Neil. If we have Man-Thing come in and he's a big Nexus being, yes, but from what we've seen so far, and if you guys don't understand what a Nexus being is, go back to Loki and WandaVision. That's on some of our other shows that we've done on Multiplane Podcast. We've talked about how Loki is becoming a Nexus being. Wanda is hands down a Nexus being. A Nexus being someone who, messes with the multiverse, can change pivotal moments and events, different things that are leading up into this multiverse saga that we're coming into. And I think America is going to be one of the biggest heavy hitters in that.
Well, I definitely think we get the impression that she's going to have a larger role to play in the MCU from this movie than what we saw in this movie. Like, I don't think this is going to be the last appearance, and I think that that's clear in the storytelling. I hope it's not the last appearance anyway. I don't know. Maybe they'll Shang-Chi her, and this will be the last time that she appears on screen. Who knows?
I would be fine if Shang-Chi wasn't in this movie if they wouldn't have given us what they gave us in his movie.
No, and
I wouldn't have expected him at all.
Yes, I agree with you, Val. But I do also feel like they gave us that character, and then they're just like, oh yeah, we should probably do something with him eventually down the line, maybe.
Yeah.
Throw him in there.
Yeah.
So.
Oh.
Well, nobody has brought up what I'm seeing online as the big plot hole, which I say plot hole because I don't think it's actually a plot hole, but there was no Vision in this. Like, Vision didn't show up at all. What are your guys' thoughts on that? I personally didn't have a problem with it. That's why I said it's an air quote thing. Yeah.
I didn't expect to see him.
Well, and I haven't seen WandaVision for a while, but doesn't the White Vision not necessarily have the emotional attachments to Wanda? Isn't that correct?
Right.
Correct.
So
correct.
I could see him not really getting involved in this or even knowing what's going on.
Yeah.
I mean, because Vision's dead. He's dead.
What? What?
Spoiler.
It's like Zendaya's quote. If I kill you, are you dead, or just not breathing?
That does remind me of a joke. What do Matt Murdock and Wanda Maximoff have in common?
No vision.
They both have no vision.
But I'm Jim.
That was an awful joke, and I'm sorry
for the hate mail. All of
that this time goes to the Multiplane mailbox.
We don't check that.
I think the movie was better served for me without Vision in it, any version of Vision. I think that, to go back to what I started with at the opening of the podcast, we're looking at Wanda she's dealt with that portion of her grief, and her focus is now on Billy and Tommy and getting to them. I think that we saw what she was willing to do to get to them and to find her way to them where they existed outside of the WandaVision setting. She did some pretty horrible things to get there. She did some pretty horrible things to them. But I think that, Vision was, if I can get this part of my family organized, I can worry about this later.
Yeah.
And I think that she was totally tunnel vision just on the boys.
Tunnel vision is a different kind of vision, but she has it. It's a night. It's a night podcast, guys. This is what happened.
I was actually kind of catchy. I'm like hanging on the next word. I'm like, what's it gonna be?
I feel like she's with her bubble gum and like dancing in her kitchen. I got tunnel vision.
I can totally see that.
I may not have regular vision, but I got tunnel vision. So the one thing I really, really loved about this film And I'm not, you guys all know I'm a surface nerd. I haven't read a lot of comic books. I don't know a lot of what all y'all know, but I loved the horror aspect of this film. And I never thought I would say that, because I think the horror aspect of this film is the type of horror that I like.
Mhm.
And I loved the coloring of it. I loved just when Wanda comes out of the gong and does the thing, and I was just like, that was an awesome shot. But then you also see the little what are the like little death guys that come up and remind me a little bit of the Mummy movie. Like you kind of have so I was just the spirits. I was like, that reminds me of the Mummy. This reminds me of this movie. This reminds me of Indiana Jones. This, like, there was just a lot of cool cinema happening in this movie that outside of all of the fan service that we're going to talk about in a minute, like I absolutely loved the pacing. I loved where he went with the horror elements. I don't think it was too far. I think that if your kids are already watching like the different series, Loki, WandaVision, you know, they watch that. I don't think this is too much for like your 10 and up, depending on how do you raise your kids. If they're already watching Sam Raimi movies, this is going to be like eating ice cream. But I just thought it was so much fun visually to watch.
And this is why I'm really excited, and I hope they keep this going. I love the fact that they're letting these directors come in and play in their sandbox, but letting them keep their flavor and adding to it, because oftentimes when you come into a genre or an established universe, you've got certain lines that you have to color within, and you're not allowed to stray out of that. And then you've got guys like Taika Waititi, who completely reinvents Thor for the better. Then you get Sam Raimi coming in, who brings his madcap, delightful horror skew to it. And it's like, I like that. It makes the MCU much more interesting. MCM, excuse me. It makes it way more interesting, and it also makes it a little more unpredictable. Like you think about like, okay, what would other directors do in this universe? Who's going to step up and play next? So I hope they keep doing it.
So you want the Christopher Nolan Punisher? Got it.
I would probably watch that, although Nolan has taken a little bit of a hit the last couple films for me. But
yeah, Tracy's not a huge fan of the Nolan right now.
Not his recent stuff. His early stuff I love.
We could do a Christopher Nolan Punisher movie. We wouldn't be able to hear any of the dialogue throughout the movie. You don't need to. It's just the shots. You know,
with that character, you don't need it. Yeah, you're right.
Well, and it's interesting because you've mentioned that before, Tracy. And what I really like about that is the MCU, or the MCM, however we want to call it, is becoming more and more like the comic book universe of Marvel. Because when you pick up an issue of Doctor Strange, it's going to read very differently than an issue of the X-Men, and it's going to read very differently than an issue of the Avengers. And that's why you have some people that are like, oh, I'm more of a cosmic Marvel guy, so I'm reading like Guardians of the Galaxy and things like that. Or I'm more of like, I like the Captain America stuff and the spy stuff and the things like that. Or you're like Ty and you just consume everything. But like they all feel differently and they all read differently. And you've got the horror comics that are very different, but you can bring these characters together for these big major events and it works. And I'm glad that we're seeing more and more of that in the
MCMU plus.
You gotta have
to a streaming provider.
Everybody's got the plus now. Yes.
So, kind of talking with Val about the that scene where we have the souls of the damned that come up, and he is first being attacked, and then he manipulates them to use them. Neil, I'm getting some serious, and I don't know if you've read these. I'm getting some serious Marvel Damnation storyline.
I have not.
Coming off of these few scenes.
So I'm not really familiar with that series, but I'll take a look for it.
I will tell you right now, especially with how we had Strange, we have this really macabre version, the zombie version of Strange here, right? And he's using the souls of the damned, and he's kind of playing with magic that shouldn't be played with. This had super strong Marvel Damnation storyline, and like Jake was saying, you know, they're gradually starting to pull that line closer and closer to their base content. And I'm like, man, if you guys just stick with this stuff, and if we pull Raimi and maybe a few other directors from the genre in here, I am just, I can't even give you words on how excited I am for their supernatural and horror side of Marvel. And we were talking on our last show on Multiplane about how Marvel has a super rich, good history with horror, the horror genre, whether it's being tying in Dracula with the Blade series, Moon Knight with Wolf by Night, which is kind of a representation of the Wolf Man, and the Mummy, kind of, we've seen that in some of the Moon Knight episodes. It's just, I'm super excited. And the more and more this movie delved into the darker arts, I'm super amped.
So you basically want Jordan Peele or Ari Aster to come in and play.
Oh my gosh, if Jordan Peele, it would have to be like a serious Moana sandwich. Like I'd have to watch Moana and then I'd go with you guys to the movie and then I'd be scared and excited and loving every minute of it. And then I would go home and I'd watch Moana again and cry myself to sleep. But it would be amazing. It would be
that movie trilogy there. I want to be part of that if it happens. When it happens.
Okay.
Just for the
if Jordan Peele, if they were to say he's gonna handle our Ghost Rider entry, yeah, I would actually
want to watch Ghost Rider because right now I feel like it's crap.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Tread lightly.
Nick Cage's best roles.
Ty, it's crap, Ty. It's crap.
Ghost Rider, no, it is not crap. Okay, the second movie was garbage. I'll give you that. The first one, though,
it's hot
as
garbage.
A child who had never seen any kind of live action adaptation, and he was first introduction into the Marvel universe. Like, Ghost Rider was my thing. And as little Ty, that was fine. And now, like I said, you and Tracy hating on Norman Reedus coming in possibly. If he comes in, I'm like, give it to me. I want it. No.
Do you guys see why I love doing a show with Ty now? Because I just poke him. I just poke him.
When Ghost Rider
that was one of my letdowns of this movie, honestly. I had two letdowns and they were pretty small.
When Ghost Rider came out, that was such a weird
making
choice.
Any cameo.
Such a weird choice to go with that movie. Like, hey, let's start making some superhero movies. Let's start with Blade and Ghost Rider. That sounds perfect.
That's Sony for you, though.
Yeah.
And let's hire some really great actors, but give you scripts that are piles of hot garbage.
The Blade movies are not on the same level of garbage as Ghost Rider. I think we need to clarify that.
Nick
the Blade
Cage
trilogy, if you start bashing that, there's going to be some...
Sam Elliott.
That's the Guillermo del Toro right there.
So I liked Blade, and I will stand by Blade.
Do you guys, Ty and Robert, do you remember when Ghost Rider was part of the Fantastic Four?
With Wolverine, Spider-Man.
When he met them in the animated series.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a weird time. I don't know books. Just thought I'd throw that out there. That was,
can we jump into the fan service of this movie?
Okay. Can I go back for just a second?
Yes.
Quality of the movie, Val, before we do that?
Yeah.
Did anybody else notice, or was it just the lighting for me, that as we got further into the movie, Wanda's costume went from being a crimson red to a darker, more black-toned red, and the dark hole took more and more hold on her?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, wasn't just me. Great.
Well, she has two different costumes, right? She has two different costumes, right? Because doesn't she have more of like a witch costume in the beginning and then it's a more battle costume towards the end?
I think it's similar to the way they showed it at the end of WandaVision, where it had the sleeveless kind of top with the hood that when she flew off, they wound up having a hood with sleeves. So I think that's more we got the transition between those two forms of it.
Yeah, that's why I'm just saying there are two separate ones though. You have the one with sleeves and then the one without sleeves, because the bodice is a little different as you get towards the end of the movie than at the beginning. Both. And also, I love how they have her kill everyone as a mom. She's dressed up as a soccer mom, just killing everyone we love. She goes in there and just like your mom telling you can't read any of these comics until you get the kitchen clean, she kills your dreams. She kills every character that we love and she puts it to bed and she just like literally moms us to death.
The most at the end. Like, okay, I'm good.
Moms us to death. We've gotten Moana Sandwich, Moms us to death, and MCM so far tonight.
MCMU Plus.
MCMU Plus. And I do, before we go to the Easter eggs, I love, and this is only something that Sam Raimi could have pulled off. We get the line from Doctor Strange about you had the power within you this whole time kind of line. And it's zombie Strange. And it like half his face is missing. And it's this like touching moment where he's like,
and
I
I'm
know
laughing.
you can do it. And it was so perfect. It was just so well done. I'm like, this only works in this movie.
And I love that they did that practical effects too.
And Jake, did anyone else?
I can tell you right now.
Go
as
ahead,
a makeup
Ty.
artist, that Zombie Strange, it gave me all different levels of happiness here.
Yeah.
So the vibes I got when he was talking out of the side of his mouth, and I'm trying to hold my crap together, right, is Tom Cruise from the vampire movie, whatever the crap, mixed in with Halloween Town. Who's like the old dead kid from Halloween Town? Or no, the Witches movie. Who's the old guy from the Witches, the Disney Witches movie with the 3 witches? What's his name?
Pocus.
Hocus Pocus.
Billy.
So if
Billy Butcherson,
dead Billy Butcherson, and Tom Cruise
from Interview with the Vampire
had a baby.
Not Interview with the Vampire, not vampire crap. That's what it was. Vampire crap. Not Interview with the Vampire.
I'd kind of get more Little Nicky if he was rotting. Hey guys, what's up?
I'm just trying not to laugh.
It was so perfect.
Yeah, it was great.
All right, Easter eggs. I mean, Val talks you up, Ty, about how you know all these Easter eggs and all the Marvel everything. So this is your moment to shine.
You got 10 minutes,
you're getting
man.
A double whammy, guys. I hope you brought your popcorn because we got Neil with me too.
Oh man,
brought reinforcements right here. Okay, so if I skip any, Neil's gonna come up and be like, "And there's this, and there's this." Big.
He's got to hydrate.
You got to hydrate for this kind of stuff. You can't just go in like unhydrated, dehydrated, whatever.
Let me just give you the one that my favorite one that I lost my mind. I feel like the rest of the theater didn't, and I hope Tracy heard me. So the way that we were sitting in the theater, Tracy was up here and I was right here. So I'm hoping he picked up every time I yelled.
I asked him to count for me.
And then Tracy said, and I quote, he sat in the fancy seats with the fancy people looking down on the rest of us commoners.
He texts me and says, "Hey, I'm having trouble getting in." I'm like, "Hey, I'll save you a couple seats, no problem." He comes up, looks at my seats and goes, I've got the fancy seats down below that are press only. I think I'm going to go sit there.
No. This is not how this played out. I even tried to get Tracy to sit next to me.
All right.
Whoa.
All right. We're at 48 minutes, man. Drop those.
Right, go.
Okay. Yeah. So my favorite first little thing that they dropped in is when we have, what's her face? Sorry. I'm pulling in. When we have,
I feel like what's her face has to be Anne Rice.
We're in the next universe.
Vampire.
We have Christine basically talking to him that's locked up in America. And she says, "Yeah, I'm the lead person at the Baxter Foundation." As soon as she dropped that name, I was losing my mind and I already knew what was coming. And I was like, "She said it." And I brought one of my buddies who is a newer kind of lighter surface fan like you, Val, and I was going to Matt and I'm like, "She said the Baxter Building." And he's like, "I don't know what that is."
I know for both of it's okay.
Yeah, and so as soon as she said the name Baxter, I was like, "Oh my gosh," losing my mind. Fast forward to when we're meeting the Illuminati, and I loved the dynamic of how they set this up, and it was different from the comic books. So you have Mordo, who is the Sorcerer Supreme in this universe. We have a different Captain Marvel.
Yes.
And then we have
Yes. I was happy to
the
see
other
that.
awesome
That was
scene.
a surprise, a very pleasant surprise.
Yeah. And then we had Captain Carter, who I was like, oh, geez. Okay, swapping out. That was a fan service right there.
Haley
And I
Atwell.
told you guys, What If is going to tie into this. And we not only had one What If character, but we had multiple What If characters show up.
Mhm.
Tracy, that was very quiet.
My
I don't know
Haley
if you're
Atwell.
trying to say something.
I'm giving some love to Haley.
She doesn't need
And
any more.
so-
Shang-Chi needs your love, Tracy, not Haley Atwell.
No, he got his own movie. She was only in parts of.
She got her own
They had their
series.
series. They sang and danced in it.
It's not a full length feature.
The big
Okay.
jaw dropper that I yelled and I was like, was when we had John Krasinski come in as Mr. Fantastic. And that's probably the loudest that I screamed, and I didn't even go, ah, like the rest of the crowd. I was like, oh my God. I literally just yelled.
I think the entire theater did at that point.
And
me,
then
yeah,
they
was
took
major.
our dreams.
I heard them squeal
and
like girls.
squashed
I
them.
verbally just, blah.
I think Raimi was really having fun at that point, going, I'm going to give you what you think that you want, and then I'm going to kill them all.
And
I
then like
think
in
basically
gruesome
what-
ways, which I thought was fantastic. The
Very
way he
unique
killed
way.
Black Bolt, I was just like, you can't kill Captain Pike like that. What are you doing?
Yeah, that was intense.
No, I what I thought he
That
did
moment was
was
shocking.
Yeah,
was
when
show
she's
us
like, "What now?"
basically in the multiverse, anything can happen and we can do anything we want. And I thought it was a big middle finger to Sony as well. Just like, well, we've got all these characters and now we can do whatever we want with them. And watch this. Kill, 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 kill.
And then we'll
But
bring
guess
them back
what?
to
We
different
can
versions.
bring them back because
right.
this isn't even the universe we're making movies in right now.
Mhm.
But here's one of the fun Easter eggs that I caught too. So when we have Reed Richards come into the scene, you have this little bright square that he kind of pops through. That's a big Dr. Doom reference. So that little square light there is actually his time machine that he's used in the comic books. And so he's gone through and kind of done his stuff. And I don't know if Neil, some of the Fantastic Fours, if you've gone through those. In this universe, obviously, Reed has repurposed it to just, move through space and
I mean, it's Reed. Come on.
teleportation
He's like,
thing.
yeah, I got some time for breakfast. Yeah, we're done.
Yeah, it's like, I'll fix this broken time machine and just make it a teleportation device.
One of the things I did appreciate about the Reed Richards interaction with Wanda was when she asked him, do you have kids? And he said, 2. And I'm like, yes. So there's a Val and a Franklin's out there somewhere, and
Yeah.
it's 2. But the fact that they just kind of dropped that little reference, I was just like,
But that led into the best line of the movie when she says, good, then somebody will be there to mourn for you. It's like,
Yeah.
Whoa!
Do they have a mom? And we're referencing Sue Storm there. Good. Yeah. At least they'll have someone.
Yeah, that
Because I'm
was.
Which
killing you
may-
right now.
It almost foreshadows, and if I see this in the future, cool. If not, I'm not as mad. But there's a storyline where I believe it's the Human Torch that dies. And basically Spider-Man comes in as a Fantastic Four member at that point. And so now it's like, okay, are we going to see this again where Reed is the one who's dead and now Spider-Man possibly pops up as that Fantastic Four replacement? It's a cool jump in the storylines. I really should have just wrote all these down and nipped through.
I gave
Neil,
you
do you
a
wanna
week,
call out
a
a few?
week worth of time
You
to
had
get
one
your
job.
notes together.
One
I
job.
I was super excited to see Charles Xavier. We knew that was coming from the trailers, but I was even more excited to see him in his hover chair instead of just a normal wheelchair.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
That
Well, not
reminded
only
me of
that,
Saturday
but
morning
1990s
cartoons.
X-Men.
but when Astral Xavier was walking, I'm just like, yes.
Yes.
That
Yeah,
was
there
that was
were-
great one for me.
So many great moments.
I loved how we also had a callback to the we talked about this on our show, The Days of Future Past, which is probably one of my favorite X-Men movies. He picked the same line that he gives himself when he's kind of doing that thing with his younger version where he says, even though we've made mistakes, we might stumble and fall, we still have to help them along the way. He gives that line back to Doctor Strange And to Mordo, as we're sitting here like, hey, our Strange messed up, but that doesn't mean this Strange is going to be just as bad. You know who I would have really loved to see come in instead of Mordo on that council? I would have really loved to see Brother Voodoo, and I hope we get him in the MCU.
That would be an interesting choice.
So,
especially as he has been recently the Sorcerer Supreme in the 616 comic universe. So it'd actually be an interesting choice to have him show up.
Especially if something happens to Wong, which we, at one point, we thought Wong was going to die here. Let's talk about his little third eye that pops up at the very end. I mean, we see Sinister Strange with it.
Right.
But what are your thoughts on, Neil, I'm jumping at you again because I like to pick your brain on this stuff. So we have Doctor Strange at the very end. He starts griping to his knees like, and then you just see the third eye open up. What is your feelings about that?
I thought that it was a mark. The same way that Sinister Strange had it because he'd been manipulated by the Darkhold for so long. The fact that they were saying all through this movie, the Darkhold is power that nobody should wield, nobody should read it, etc. The fact that he used it for what we assume was a relatively small amount of time, and then it tainted him that quickly and that badly, I think that was a call out for me. That was that call out of just going, yep, you are touched by this power that you should not have been messing with, and here's what comes of it. I think it's interesting that they gave him the ability to mask it or put a glamour over it so that he looks normal and doesn't freak everybody out. Although I kind of like to see that, although most people be like, Thursday.
Yeah, they're getting used to it by this point.
Dude's got a third eye. What are you going to do?
Thursday.
He must be a superhero guy or a supervillain.
No, and I'm taking it the complete opposite way. Like you're saying that he used, the book that long and it had that effect on him. I'm not thinking it was necessarily bad. Because even when we have, the first Sorcerer Supreme training him, she's like, you need to open your third eye, and clenches into his forehead, sends him spiraling through. A lot of the times in the comic books, he'll show up with that third eye. And it represents the eye of, So, and if you guys don't know what that is, it's his pendant that he's wearing through Doctor Strange, Infinity War, Endgame, that holds the Time Stone. This, I feel like, is him gaining that back in a sense, because the eye is not always necessarily a physical object that he wears. It's something that's now personifying itself through him. It gives him extra abilities. So I'm excited to see, like we said, we have very cool dark stuff coming, and I'm excited to see his abilities as the Sorcerer Supreme grow. And I really hope that kind of foreshadows that we're going to get the Cult of Strange, which is a group of humans, super humans, who basically he siphons, if there's a big spell that needs to be done, he siphons it out to these other people, and it pretty much takes all of their life force to cast it. It's like having extra juice behind him, and it can get pretty dark. So, and then
go ahead.
Leah.
Yeah, I was going to say that's
what I was about to say.
I had to look up who that was because I didn't know. Who
yeah, I don't feel like they did enough for the average moviegoer. I had no clue who that was. I'm like, okay, cool. It's Charlize Theron. That's cool. But I had no idea who that character was without some research afterwards.
Craig Price was like,
they always give everything away like that. I don't think they always give you for the fans. I think this goes definitely to fan service. Like, you see her. He's like, I was like, I know who that is. And there's a guy next to me who's like, huh? I'm like, don't worry about it.
It was the same thing with the Eternals, with the characters that showed up at the end of the Eternals, and then you also had the Black Knight reference that you like. For the average moviegoer, it's like, okay, those guys are going to be cool at some point, but I don't know who they are now.
Yeah.
But for the comic book fan or someone who's...
I didn't know that was Blade's voice for a while.
Yeah, I thought it was the Watcher possibly, or I think the Watcher was my main call for who that was at the end of the Eternals, just because we have a disembodied voice. All right, what do you do?
And that's usually the Watcher when it's in Marvel.
No, that's Blade doing his Nick Fury thing, recruiting the Midnight Suns. Which is why I was hoping. I was hoping that second, post-credit scene. First off, Clea, guys. Let's talk about Clea a little bit. At first, I thought it was Medusa. Yeah. I thought it was another Inhuman coming through because, we dropped Black Bolt. Why not drop another Inhuman in here? But then, I looked at him and was like, oh, crap, that's Clea. And I think it was the perfect snippet. So, we just got done with him admitting, okay, Christine, you and I cannot be together. That is all right. I have made my peace with that. He is at the end of this film gone over that hurdle. Clea shows up, and Clea is his next love interest.
Yeah.
I can't remember. Neil, correct me if I'm right or wrong, or Jake, anyone who's read these. Is Clea the niece or daughter of Dormammu?
I don't remember how she's connected. Jake?
I think it's niece, but I'm not totally sure.
For some reason, I was thinking it was sister, but I read it on a wiki, basically.
Yeah.
But not only his next love interest, she has also been his student, his teacher, and a Sorcerer Supreme. Yeah. So that's also setting up a lot for her potentially in the future as well.
So really quick, before we run out of time, can we just talk about how good Elizabeth Olsen was as Wanda in this movie?
She was really, really good.
Phenomenal job with it. And I really hope that's not the end of Wanda, because there's a lot more to do with that character. So
Tracy, we never saw a body.
Yeah. And even if you see a body, they can still bring it back.
She can dream walk. I mean, yeah.
And I saw a quote from the scriptwriter who said it was Wanda versus a mountain. Who do you think is going to win? So kind of, very much hinting, but especially with the spinoff that they're doing, Agatha. So I would think that should play into that, but
who else do we know
nailed this movie?
Who has a red source of magic, who can pull the soul of a damned person to their realm that we see?
This is Ty has been talking about this for the last 2 years.
I know.
Oh, if it's who Ty's been, I was gonna say that's who Ty's been talking about is Mephisto, and I know that's the everybody's waiting, or a lot of people are waiting.
I'm still calling it. I'm still calling behind the scenes. She physically, we could see her there, getting crushed by the mountain, but for all we know, internally, she's about to go to hell, and Mephisto's like, "You've got some juju. That's mine." And then again, the boys were a big part of this movie, and they are part of him. So it's gonna happen, guys. When it does,
we heard it here first.
My horn over here.
All right.
Make sure you get another sip of water first, though.
Wanda Maximoff in hell.
No, he's gonna do the Gatorade bath, Val, at the end of a big sporting event, and they do the big Gatorade pour.
To himself, he's just gonna pick it up and dip it over his own head.
I've got 2 of them at home.
Surprising no one.
All right, what do we want to grade this movie?
We have to give it a grade.
Let's start with our special guest.
Wow, no pressure here. I actually think it was I think that it was well done. There were a couple of flaws, but I totally ate up all of the fan service. I'm going to give it a B plus A minus easily. It did things that I didn't expect. It did things that I wasn't happy with, which is good because it takes me out of my comfort zone for what could possibly be next. So I'll give it a hard A minus.
Tracy?
I'm with Robert here. My initial feeling was an A minus. I wish it had been a little bit longer. I felt like there was just so much in this, but the thing that I really appreciated was I was afraid going into this was going to be multiverse, and cameo. And it was going to get overbearing and overstuffed. And it wasn't, which I was really excited and happy about, but I'm a Sam Raimi fan. I love his art style. I love his sense of humor. The camera work that he brought to it was just so much fun. Like those damn spirits, I'm like, they're like a nicer version of a Deadite, basically. So, you know, just a lot of fun. But yeah, I have a couple of friends who had not seen WandaVision who were like, what is going on? So, you know, I feel like they did enough to explain it, but yet it still left some people out. But for those who had seen it, I give it an A-.
Yep.
I'm gonna give it a solid B, and that's a good grade for me. Listen, I gave you my things that I didn't like about it, but I'm with you, Robert. Like I want to be surprised. I don't go in like with a huge amount of expectations, and I don't read a lot of things about what the movie is supposed to be. No, even he'll send me things. But when I'm like, la 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 la, like let me go see it. So I do get excited, but when you get me excited from another movie, you know, and then I see it, I'm like, oh, that would have been great. But to me, it was enjoyable. The two issues that I talked about earlier were basically my only issues, but solid B for me. It's not one that I'm going to go back to and watch over and over like I will Spider-Man. But I really enjoyed it.
I'm going to give it a B+. I feel like it was well done. I do think that it's great that it's something different that we haven't seen in the MCMU plus
Niner
extra before, and I think that's really great. And I'm glad to see some different styles and some different stories being told in this universe. And I think that's really exciting. But it's not, to me, it's not on the same level as Winter Soldier and Thor Ragnarok, which are probably my two favorites, or Infinity War and Endgame. But I enjoyed it a lot. B+ is still really, really good.
Mm-hmm.
Before Ty rebuttals here, I'm just going to say B+ is still really, really good.
We're not here to slam people's scores.
I'm not slamming that. I'm perfectly fine with the score. I'm just saying the Sorcerer Supreme could take on the Winter Soldier any day, any time. But I'm going to give this one.
Doesn't mean his movies have been better. I just think Winter Soldier was a really good movie. Not saying he could take him in a fight. For me,
this one for me is an A, guys. Like, it's my opener for the Suns, which I'm going to always keep rambling about. We're diving into the thing that caught my attention as a kid, and this hit the notes, and I hope to see more awesome stuff like this coming from Marvel, and I hope we even dive deeper into the horror genre with them. And it's a solid A. I'm going to be watching this one on repeat.
Awesome. Well, we hope you enjoyed our extra multi-podcast tonight with Movies That Make Us and Multiplane Podcast and our special guest, Robert. If you didn't like it, you can email us, but we don't check our email. Kidding. We do want to hear your feedback, and we want to know what you thought about the movie. You can go ahead and comment below. Please subscribe to both of our YouTube channels, our Facebooks, our Instagrams. If you want us to talk about a specific movie coming up, let us know. I know that next week on Multiplane Podcast, we are talking about the new Disney Plus movie, Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers, which I watched 3 days ago, and I gotta say, so much fun. So we're gonna let Ty watch it, and we're gonna talk about it with you guys next week. As far as Movies That Make Us, what are we gonna do, guys? What's our movie?
We are gonna do something amazing.
Rescue Rangers.
You're just gonna have to tune in and see how amazing.
How amazing it is. We love you all for being here. Thank you, Robert. You're amazing. Not only an amazing dresser, but super smart.
Seriously, go check out his Instagram. It is so much fun.
Yep.
This man has been my guru for toy photography. Like, he has endured hours and hours of me messaging him.
and it sounds like maybe coming soon, a photo of that MCMU plus therapy session.
Please.
Oh.
It's coming.
We may have to also cosplay that at FanX.
I'm in.
I call Fat Thor.
Xavier.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful evening.
Bye.
Bye.